My name is Sandeep Gurrupadi, and I'm an opera singer, a tenor, and a chamber musician.
Rome is now ruled by the Etruscan upstart Tarquinius Superbus, the proud king.
Now, most of the time when people think of opera, they get caught up in the stereotypes. They think of maybe the funny sounds that singers have to make in order to sing, the melodramatic music, the over-the-top plot lines, maybe that it's a little too long, and sometimes that they can't even understand the language. Now, while all of that may be true in certain cases, I think that opera and chamber music are absolutely magical genres of music that, given the right opportunity, everyone in the world can come to love and get enveloped in the story and the plot line, taken on a journey through the music. Opera as a genre came into being around the 16th century. And for the most part, opera is an art form which brings together music, dance, poetry, acting, all on stage. And back in the day, when theaters were quite small, singers didn't really have to project their voices very far because it was done for very intimate settings. However, as the audience grew for this art form and many people became enthralled with this absolutely magical, over-the-top dramas, theaters became bigger and halls became to accommodate thousands of people. And in order to reach the last person at the end of the auditorium, singers needed to develop a technique in order which they could project their voices and it could resonate at the back as well. Opera singing is like a full body experience. You have to think of opera singers like vocal athletes. They're not just using their vocal cords to produce a sound, but actually engaging the right muscles in order to take the pressure off the vocal cords and make sure that they can sustain their singing for hours and also be heard over sometimes 100 musicians in an orchestra pit without a microphone. Now, Western classical music categorizes voices into high voice types and low voice types. Now, what does that mean? Most of the time, whenever you have singers, there's a particular range in their voice which sounds the best. The range that resonates with them and truly comes across as something that's natural to their voices. In Western classical music, there are generally four broad voice types. There are the tenors, the sopranos, female voice, altos, low female voice, and basses, which are the low male voices. Now, there's a huge caveat, because there are other voice types as well, obviously. These divisions of voices is to make sure that composers know how to compose for a particular voice type and to make sure that they can convey the musical story that they want to in the right resonant frequency that they want to. So when you watch an opera for the first time, or when you watch an opera video for the first time, you might be overwhelmed and not know what to look out or listen for. So here are three things that you can definitely look out for to make sure that you have a more immersive experience. Number one are musical motifs. Now, musical motifs are little musical ideas that composers use to attach to a character, an emotion, a plot line, or to tell you that there's danger looming ahead, or just give you emotional context to what's happening on stage at that moment. It gives you a sense of familiarity to make sure that you're still in the plot line and you know that what the characters feel on stage is actually something that you can feel as well. Second is the story. Now, most operas, believe it or not, have really, really simple stories at the heart of it. On the surface, they might be super complicated, but at the end, they're just about friendship, about love, or it could be nationalistic themes, war, or it could be political. And these themes are universal. You see them in movies, in music, everywhere. If you were to read the synopsis of what's happening in the opera just before you go in, or if there's program notes, just read them before, you'll have the inside jokes and know what exactly is happening to the characters on stage and be more prepared to come on the journey with the characters. The third one is they're not just singing on stage, they're acting. You're not just watching or hearing a musical performance, but you're actually watching a drama. You're watching something unfold in front of you where people are acting and giving life to these characters that were written by a composer, maybe sometimes 200, 300, 400 years ago. It's an art form that has, over the centuries, changed and continually evolved in order to fulfill the demands of the generation. Nowadays, opera can be anything from experimental theater, where you have screaming and yelling and whispering and all kinds of interesting and crazy plot lines, to the more traditional operas by Verdi or Mozart, which are in the standard operatic tradition. Opera is an umbrella term which encompasses all of these ideas, and at the end of it aims to give the dramatical, theatrical element to musical storytelling. So as what we're seeing in an opera, it's very large and big scale and has this idea of dramatic theatricality. Chamber music, on the other hand, is an intimate dialogue between musicians in small, relatively smaller spaces. Musicians are talking with each other and kind of telling a story through their dialogue. And it's a very, very unique experience. My relationship with a pianist is where we have to learn how to breathe together in a musical phrase. We have to learn how to make sure that we're both together, but not together in terms of like a strict rules, but together in the sense of, are we on the same musical direction? Are we making sure we're telling the same story? The idea of chamber music is to scale everything that is dramatic about an opera and put it in the sense of innovative poetry and convey emotional context to music through a seamless and beautiful dialogue between musicians who are constantly in the present. So next time you have something, a show or an opera or a video that you might see, I encourage you to take a moment and explore it and see that maybe you might just come to like it.